Buongiorno a tutti, mi chiamo Charlotte e oggi parliamo un po' del vocabolario della musica. La musica, music, il vocabolario is just vocab or vocabulary. Ho trovato su una pagina Facebook questa immagine qui, quella lì. I found this image on a face, like this meme. Image on a Facebook page. Non mi ricordo quella pagina è. I don't remember the exact name, but I'm going to include the link to the original post here, just after the description of my club handout. But I found this this rather cool image, I thought, where somebody has used visual representations of musical terms. And so, for example, we have the visual representation sort of depict the meaning of the term. I thought that was quite clever. So, prima parola. So these are musical terms. I'm not a musician, I am a singer, sono cantante, ma non ho mai studiato la musica a scuola, ok? Non l'ho mai studiata. Però mi piace molto, dunque, andiamo. Pianissimo, pianissimo. So, what I'm saying is I'm not like musically trained, but I am a singer. I do like singing. You probably see that I post some kind of covers and stuff on the same channel as this one. So even though I'm not musically trained, I am aware of the meaning of these things, and that it might not be the exact way that it's taught, the way I'm going to describe it, but I'm looking more at the Italian language that is at the basis of the words, so that those who are, say, not Italian, who are learning the Italian language through the medium of English, like this video, then you'll have a better understanding of where that word comes from, okay? So, if you, there's lots of Italian words peppered through the language of music, which is used like kind of globally. So, let's have a look. Pianissimo. So, piano, we're going to look at it. In fact, we'll put it just here, a bit larger, because as it happens, pianissimo, pianissimo, just at the top here is written really small. It's so small it's even blurry. And then we've got slightly larger piano. So pianissimo, an adjective with the suffix issimo at the end, means very, very, whatever the adjective. So piano means softly, okay, quiet and soft. So piano is a little bit less quiet than pianissimo, okay, which is like very, very soft and quiet, whereas piano is soft and quiet. Then we've got mezzo piano, mezzo. So mezzo can mean like mid or middle, kind of a little kind of, I think kind of half, all right, okay, because mezzo and mezza, you'll see it in terms of like quantity as well. So think half or midway between two things. So we've got mezzo, and with double Z, like in the word pizza, has a t, 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 t. It's not z, it's a t and a s sound together. Mezzo, okay, mezzo. So we start with very, very soft, very quiet, and pianissimo. Piano is just soft or quiet. And then we've got mezzo piano. Okay, so in fact, well, let's make that a little bit bigger again. Let's try and follow the format of the actual meme, where it gets a little bit bigger. Pianissimo could be a little bit smaller actually, and you know, it's quite hard for me to recreate the representations there, but you can see pianissimo is very small, piano's a bit bigger, mezzo piano gets a bit bigger, and then you've got mezzo forte, forte, fortissimo, and it goes on and on. So I can't exactly recreate by hand on a whiteboard the shapes, but I'll try and get across a little more or less what the idea is. So mezzo piano is sort of midway or quite soft or quiet, okay? Then we're going up to forte, which is all in like majuscule or uppercase. Forte, strong. Forte means strong, or it can mean like loud. Okay. Fortissimo is the next one. So we're going to keep this in capitals. Fortissimo. So we've got, by the way, I'm sorry about all the sounds outside. I am in a little cabin at the moment. There's a field over there. There's gardens all around, so you might hear some kind of, and there's also a little road. You might hear cars, vehicles, farm equipment, people mowing the lawns, etc. I'm sorry about that. Or you might hear some birds tweeting. Fortissimo means very loud or strong. Very loud, very strong. So, pianissimo, piano, mezzo piano, forte, fortissimo. Okay? So, issimo again adds on to the end of the adjective. So we got the adjective piano, piano. Take off the O, pian, and then add issimo, makes it into the superlative, okay? And you can do that for lots of different things, like bello or bella. You might hear that change to, you drop the final O or A, depending on whether you're describing something that's a masculine noun or a masculine person or object, or a feminine noun, object or person, etc. So in Italian, as you probably are aware by now, the adjectives, the words that we use to describe something or someone, agree in gender with the person or the subject that you're describing, or the object if you like. So bello becomes bellissimo, bella becomes bellissima. Okay, and we keep the ending will agree with the noun, the gender and the number of the noun. So bellissimo would become bellissimi in the plural, and bellissima would become bellissime in the plural. It depends what you're describing. Okay, so that's superlatives, words that have these on the end, the issimo, issima suffix. Okay, so you add that to an adjective, a describing word. So pianissimo, piano, mezzo piano, forte, fortissimo. Fortissimo vuol dire molto, 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 molto forte, strong or loud. Okay, then we've got another one. So this is a word that comes, it describes the music. You probably know this word. This is quite a commonly used word, even not in sort of a musical context. So let me see. What we're trying to denote here is that this is growing larger. So a crescendo. When something comes to a crescendo, it sort of it increases in sort of volume or sound, like the amount of sound. Okay, so maybe lots of different instruments come together, or lots of voices come together, and it slowly gets bigger. A crescendo. That kind of thing. Okay, it gets bigger. So the linguistic point here is that this is from the verb crescere, which means to grow. To grow. And I wonder whether that's where the word creche comes from, you know, like maybe or maybe not. Creche is a French word, I think, but creche. Sometimes I mix up my languages. Anyway, we certainly use the word creche for little babies, a place where you leave babies, like a kind of nursery. Crescere is an ERE verb. It means to grow or to like to increase. Crescendo. And also ENDO. So when you have like the gerund. So in English we've got lots of ways of using the form of a verb, like with ing at the end, growing, for example. So and that allows us to use it like a noun. The growing of plants, for example, is a very time-consuming thing, for instance, okay? Or it could be used to, like, as an adjective, describing the way the music goes, if you like. growing, increasing. And we can also use it as like kind of the ing at the end of like a verb in English. Like crescere corresponds to the English verb to grow. So crescendo, the endo ending, kind of corresponds to the ing ending, like the suffix that you put on the end of that you would add to like the root of a verb in English. So to grow becomes growing. So this can function as like an adjective in both Italian and English, but here, and it is describing the music here, it's increasing. But this endo, you take, the way you form it is to, because you could spend a lot of time, I could spend a lot of time talking about gerunds and like present participles and things like that, but I just want you to understand sort of really where it comes from. And it's from the verb crescere. It's, you would write, or you would say crescendo when referring to this gradually increasing, getting fuller or bigger, like that. But this little ending here, you could take, for example, a different verb. Let's think of another verb as an ERE verb. Scegliere. Okay, so that means to choose. Scegliere. So if I wanted to say choosing, I could take the ERE ending off and change it to ENDO, scegliendo. And that is, I've now created a gerund form of the verb scegliere, scegliendo. So that's how you sort of arrive at this word crescendo. I wonder if we've got any, oh, we've got another one. In a minute, I'll show you the word ritardando, which is also like a sort of gerund form, and it comes from an ARE verb, which is much more common in Italian than ERE verbs. It's pretty hot in here because normally there's a little heater that's on to keep this place warm, but we've also got a kind of heat wave going on in Wales at the moment, so it's actually quite warm. I had to just turn it off because it was mistakenly left on. So if I'm looking like kind of gasping, it's because fa caldo. Okay, it's very, very hot. So crescendo. In fact, the way that this is represented, crescendo here, can you see it? Eccolo qua. The way that they've cleverly got this across is to change the last few letters to capitals. Endo, crescendo. Okay, gradually getting bigger. Right, here we have another sort of gerund type form. Diminuendo. Diminuendo. So diminuendo means to gradually become smaller or quieter. Okay. So it's kind of the opposite of crescendo, which is gradually getting bigger or fuller. This is getting smaller and quieter, and or quieter. So this as well is formed, or it's the root is the verb, is a verb, diminuire. So it's an IRE verb. Okay, it ends with an I and an R and an E. It happens to be preceded, the IRE happens to be preceded by a U. So that can be a bit confusing when it comes to how to conjugate the verb. But we won't worry about that at the moment. The main thing is that you know that the word diminuendo, which means to gradually become smaller or lower, like in volume, smaller in like terms of sound or like lower in volume, comes from this verb diminuire, which looks a bit like the English word to diminish, which to make something smaller, although that's often used in a kind of figurative sense rather than a kind of literal sense. So it could be translated as to lessen or to make smaller, or to diminish, okay, depending on the context in English. So to make smaller, we'll call it to make smaller. And then, so in order to form that word, it's formed by taking off the IRE ending of that verb and adding endo. Okay, so ERE verbs and IRE verbs in Italian, two types of the three sort of main verb groups. You can take off the last three letters of the infinitive form and add endo. Okay? However, we have another verb here, which, I'm going to have to remember exactly how you translate this now. Let me think. Did I write it down? Yeah, okay. So this is sforzando. Let me just see. So sforzando. Starts off with a big, because I have to sort of write it out in the way that depicts its meaning. Sforzando. So sforzando. Let's see. I looked this up because I wasn't really sure what this meaning was in music. So sudden, strong emphasis. Sforzando. Okay, so I'm sorry if I'm making a mess out of this if you're like a musician, but I'm more interested in the actual words and like where they come from, and so that people who are learning the Italian language can understand it. So sforzare. So instead of the verb being an IRE or an ERE verb, sforzare, like to force, I guess, like to force something or to emphasize something initially, is an ARE verb, sforzare. There might be another translation for that, but I didn't actually note down a translation that's precise, so maybe I'll put it in afterwards. So how that's created is take the verb sforzare and take off the ending and add ANDO. I think there's another one somewhere which is formed in this way. Yeah, it's the next one. Okay. So, I can't believe how hot it is in here, just with the heater having been on, and you know, it's hot basically. Okay, good. This one might be a bit easier to kind of depict. Ritardando. So ritardare, sì. Ritardare, scusa. I'm just getting my French and my Italian mixed up. Ritardare is to like to make something slower. Okay? Or later. To retard something, to make it slow down. Okay? I'll just stretch out. Ritardando, from retard, or to delay. There you go. I was trying to think what the actual word is. To delay something, to make it go on for longer. Because rallentare is probably a more common way of saying to slow something down, but like to delay something. Okay? Ritardando. So this is from ritardare, and you take off the ARE and you add ando as the ending, and that's how you come across that musical term. Okay, similar one here now. Oh, am I going to run out of space? Accelerando. You could probably see how these words are formed. You know, you take a verb and then you put it into the gerund form by taking off the ending, which is either IRE, ARE, which is the most common type of verb, or ERE, and then adding either endo for IRE or ERE verbs, or ando as a suffix if it's an ARE verb. So the next one is accelerando. Okay, it's hard to do this, but it's similar to the word accelerate. Okay, accelerando. How do you even write this? Okay, so they start off, the way that they do this on this particular meme is to start off with spaces. Accelerando. It's actually quite clever the way that they've depicted this, but it is hard to recreate it on here. But getting slowly or getting gradually faster from the verb accelerare. Okay, so a double C here. If there's a double C in Italian, the way it's pronounced depends on the letter that comes after the C's. So 2 C's on its own would be like a K sound, or 1 C on its own would be like a hard C. But if it's followed by an E, it becomes a c'è. Okay, so accelerando. I'm trying to think of other CE. C'è. Even just when you say c'è, it is. That's a C and an apostrophe and then an E with an accent. I think the accent goes c'è. I think it's like that. There is. So that's a C, even though it's two words together essentially. It's pronounced the same as a C followed directly by an E. C'è. Accelerando. Getting quicker or accelerating, going faster. And accelerare, the verb, can be used, in like the normal context of like talking about vehicles or cars or other contexts. Okay, so if you're looking to say to get quicker, like you're trying to speak in Italian, you can think of the verb accelerate. Or if you're talking about music getting quicker, accelerando, accelerare, la musica che accelera. It's an ARE verb, so it should be quite easy to, or relatively easy to conjugate. Right, the next one, I quite like this next one, just the way they've depicted it. Sta, or stack, ca, to. Staccato, staccato, staccato. So, staccato. Now, now that is one of the ones that I kind of understood, even without looking it up to check how to describe it, because I don't know why I knew that, probably just from like singing in choirs when I was younger or something. But so staccato, did I write down how to sort of staccato? So staccato notes, I've written on my very terrible scribbles. Okay, this is quite a nice description. So these are notes which are sharply detached one from the other. Da, 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 da. Instead of da, 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 da. So they're sharp and they're detached. Okay, there's no run on, and there's quite a difference between them. Okay, so that is staccato. So even though this is a word that's written staccato, so the word is actually written S-T-A-C-C-A-T-O, in order to make it look disjointed. Disjointed is the word, or a word. Staccato is how it's been depicted. It has been depicted on this meme. Right, let's see what else there is. Okay. Right. Dolce. Okay, dolce. I'm going to put in what has been written in. I'm running out of space here. Two little hearts. Dolce. So dolce, you probably have seen or heard that word before. Dolce, it's often used in like kind of food or drinks, but also describing other things than music, like someone's nature, or Dolce & Gabbana. You might know the fashion house name, Dolce. So again, we've got a C and an E at the end. Dolce means like sweet or gentle, soft. Okay, and when you're talking about music, to lightly, delicately play something, lightly, delicately, softly, sweetly play something. Dolce. Okay, but it actually means sweet. Okay, hence having two little hearts. Right, what's the next one we've got? I have actually missed one out, but I haven't got the room for it now. So what I'm going to do is just put the last one here, which I did have to look up as well. Fermata. Okay, so this isn't actually the way it's written, but the word is fermata. Fermata. So fermarsi is a reflexive verb, which means to stop oneself, like to stop, just like to stop your body from moving. And if you think of like a bus stop, una fermata dell'autobus. That's a bus stop. Una fermata, a stop. So you might look at this word and think, you have to stop. But actually, it means to hold or to pause on a note. So, and there is, I can't remember what the actual sign is, musical symbol, but from what I could see, if there's a pause, like if there's a silence, you can hold the silence with a fermata, okay? Or you can hold the note. So fermata, the way they've written it is to sort of hold something, but it could also be a pause that is held. So fermata should look like this if it were written normally. And it's describing the music, so I guess that's why there's an A at the end. But if it was describing something else that's masculine, for example, it would have an O at the end, fermato. However, this fermata is actually a stop, like for example on a bus or a train journey. Una fermata. Una fermata, if we're talking about a bus stop, because that's quite a useful thing, del autobus. Okay, I know that that's not specific to music, but it's the kind of thing that you might actually hear that's quite useful. La fermata dell'autobus. Dove è la fermata dell'autobus? Per favore. I'm getting very hot in here. All this heat is trapped, and I didn't want to open the door because I didn't want the noises from outside to affect the recording. So what I'm going to do now is I'll wrap up, but I'll just go over those words. There is one that I've missed out, but I will come back to that maybe another time. Or if I remember, I'll put it in the comments. And I also want to look up sforzare to find out exactly what that verb is that it comes from. But I think it's just like to push, like to force something initially, to emphasize initially with force. It's really hard. Fa molto, molto caldo. What's the weather like where you are? Okay. Che tempo fa? What's the weather like da voi, where you guys are? E vi piace la musica? Do you like music? If you're a musician, feel free to comment. Remember, I'm a linguist and a singer. So I'm not trained in music, but I do have an interest in, obviously there's lots of Italian words that you find if you are you're probably aware of if you're a musician. So we've got piano, pianissimo, very soft, very quiet, the most quiet. Piano is soft or quiet. Mezzo piano, midway quiet, quite quiet. Mezzo forte, mid loud. Forte, loud or strong. Fortissimo, very loud, very strong. Crescendo, crescendo. So hard to do. Getting bigger into a crescendo. Diminuendo, diminuendo. I keep looking over here at myself, but actually I should be looking over there where the camera is on my phone. Getting slow, or getting gradually smaller or less or quieter. Sforzando, sforzando. Push out the emphasis at the beginning. Ritardando, getting longer, slower. Accelerando. Sounds like a car getting fast. Accelerando. Accelerating, getting faster. Staccato. Disjointed. Dolce. Sweet, gentle, light. Fermata. Held or pause. Okay? A pause doesn't make sense if you're still holding something going, but I think if you look up the like kind of definition, what you'll find is that, and let me know if I'm wrong, but I understand that fermata is where there is something that's either held or where a silence is held. And if a silence is held, then that's essentially a pause in the music. So that's what I think it is. But in like in a more like practical sense, then if you're talking about just general Italian language, fermare is to stop. Fermarsi is to stop oneself. Just to stop, we'd say in English. It could be a reflexive verb, and it's linked to, for example, the noun fermata, una fermata, which you might see on like a journey. Like la prossima fermata, the next stop on this train ride or this bus ride or whatever. And it can also be a bus stop if you specify fermata dell'autobus. Okay, bus stop, bus, the stop of a bus, bus stop. Okay, so let's just do a little check. Mezzo, what does that mean? Mezzo. You might, if you're talking about the time, che ora sono? 11:30. È 11:30. Sometimes you'll hear mezzo, mezza. You'll also hear it talking about people's voices, like mezzo soprano, for example. Midway or half. Okay, so it can mean mid or half, or it can even mean middle or medium, depending on, like, it's to do with like the middle point between two things. Mezzo. Dolce. Sweet. Okay? Dolce. The nice thing about, or the useful thing about dolce is it's an adjective that ends with an E, so it can be used to describe la musica, una persona, un ragazzo, un uomo, una donna. You know, if you're calling someone sweet, you could use dolce, and you don't have to have an O or an A at the end because it's already got an E. Okay? And in the plural, dolce becomes dolci. Okay? Now then, what else? Okay, so what I've got here are just a few verbs which aren't necessarily on this list, which are to do with music. I just thought it would be useful to look at. I'm going to pick a few of them. I'll leave the rest for the members of my club to sort of look at and investigate themselves. So suonare is to play like an instrument, okay? Like here I have una chitarra. So suonare la chitarra, okay? So I know how to play guitar. Kind of. Not very well. Suonare, okay, to play an instrument. Ascoltare, of course, to listen to or to hear. No, to listen to music. Ascoltare la musica, you don't have to translate the preposition to. Like in English, I am listening to music. But in Italian, you just ascoltare la musica. Okay, you just listen. The listen to is kind of contained within the verb ascoltare. There's no need to translate it to sort of ascoltare a la musica, okay? No. Registrare is to record. Okay, you might want to record some music. Cantare is to sing. Crescere I've included here just because it's specific to music, like crescendo, and then diminuendo, so to get bigger or to grow, and then to diminish or to lessen or to get smaller, diminuire. But I'd say the main ones are suonare uno strumento and ascoltare qualcosa, something, la musica, la radio, whatever, una voce, a voice, and then cantare is to sing. So they're the most kind of common verbs that you'll get to do with music. So there. Ecco un po' di vocabolario della musica. E basta, così. If you're interested in becoming a member of my club and you aren't already, then please feel free to get in touch. I'm sorry the count's going up and down because I put my foot on the floor and I'm in the cabin and it's rocking the table that camera's set up on. Yeah, just send me an email, or you can go directly to my website. The information is all in the description below, and you should be able to just click on the information for my language clubs, and then follow a link to PayPal in order to get your subscription. And during the length of time, the year's length of time of your subscription, you can also get a discount when you buy a block booking of one-to-one tuition with me. So if you need some extra one-to-one help, I can help you via online tuition sessions, and you'll get a special discount for being a member of my online French or Italian clubs. Grazie mille e alla prossima volta. Ciao!